Hello everyone! It is my honor and privilege to have been invited to Season 2 of the Lake Valor League and compete against 15 other coaches in a National Dex draft. For those who aren't aware, a Pokemon draft is a pretty simple concept. To keep it short, every Pokemon in the format, Nat Dex in this situation, are broken into point tiers. You're given a certain number of points to draft, between 9 and 11 Pokemon, and you play a round-robin-like tournament over a few weeks against other trainers, referred to as coaches, by building teams from the small pool that you draft. Each Pokemon can only be picked by one player, not accounting for forms, so many of the quote-unquote good Pokemon will be taken very quickly. However, limitation leads to innovation, so you make do with what you can. Drafting is a unique and, in my opinion, very interesting way to play the game, but requires a little bit of planning, patience, and scheduling. So for that, I specifically want to give a shout out to Lavz, also known as Phantom Snorlax, and to Cudah for inviting me to participate, as well as for putting the effort into making this whole thing happen. Without further ado, let's go over my draft picks. My place in the draft was number 5, which means 4 players drafted before I did. Those players took Dragapult, Urshifu, Tornadus, and Spectrier, not in that order, but that gave me a little bit of insight as what to draft. So I chose at first draft pick Fable, a bulky fairy type that would help me with coverage against Dragapult and Urshifu, as well as the ability through Unaware to negate Spectrier's Grim Neigh. The Tornadus actually got locked in without me seeing it, so Clefable doesn't do anything to help with that, but it's still a viable option. Now, I don't know a lot about Pokemon drafting, but I've played other games that have draft formats like Magic the Gathering before, and I know that utility can be very important, versatility can be very important, and a solid knowledge of what the opponents can have. There's a lot of metagaming when it comes to drafting. So the ability to counter no less than 3 of the Pokemon that have been picked so far makes Clefable a solid choice. And beyond being a solid counter pick, Clefable has several strong sets that it can use, as well as 2 very relevant abilities. So, starting off, I'm going to try to run more versatile Pokemon, and hopefully that works out for me. My second draft pick, I had originally planned on picking up Mega Scizor. Clefable offered a very strong, specially defensive Pokemon, and having a beater with only 1 weakness that could also be a physical tank seemed very good to me. Sadly, someone drafted the bug on the backswing before I was able to get to it, so I tempered my expectations just a little bit and decided to go for another bulky steel type instead. And with that, I added Celestila to the ShuckSquad. While Celestila isn't as imposing in my opinion as Mega Scizor, it still flaunts respectable stats all around, aside from maybe its speed, and allows for that delicious utility that I crave. Compared to Mega Scizor, it is a bit slower, and it doesn't hit as hard. And, in fact, gets hit just a little bit harder. But the trade-off is almost worth it. It can go as either a special or physical attacker, can boost its own speed with Automatize, and can even run a stall set if need be. And like I said before, I don't know much about drafting Pokemon, but I'd like to exposit the value of versatility, and having that much utility can be great. That's the strategy I'm going for. Looking at the picks so far, 2 things begin to stand out. 1, there are quite a few Ghosts and Psychics in play. And 2 of the Megas that I've thought about have been drafted, and if I'm not careful, I might not get one that I want. So keeping both of those things in mind, I weighed my options and decided to go with Mega Kangaskhan. Its ability Parental Bond offers a hard 25% damage increase to every attacking move that I use, as well as breaking through Sturdy and Focus Sash. I had originally considered Mega Lopunny for this slot because of Scrappy, with all the ghosts, but Mega Kangaskhan also gets Scrappy as regular Kangaskhan, lacks weaknesses to Flying, Psychic, and Fairy, and has better overall bulk than Lopunny. Plus, if the need arises, I could theoretically use Kangaskhan as a solid Wish Passer. I don't think Mega Kangaskhan is better overall than Mega Lopunny, but I wanted to try something just a little bit different. Plus, the potential for flinch hacks with Headbutt or Paralysis from Body Slam could be viable, since the second hit from Parental Bond has the same chance of activating secondary effects. For my fourth pick, I chose Araquinid, a pretty strong bug water Pokemon. With Stab Leech Life, it'll be able to survive quite well against some of the stronger Psychic and Dark types that have been drafted at this point, and if we run into some stronger Grass types, it'll help against those as well. Stab Liquidation, coupled with its Water Bubble ability, allows it to make quick work of most Pokemon that don't resist water, and if something happens to be weak to water, Araquinid's gonna tear it apart. Heatran and Landorus have both already been drafted, so that's definitely something to keep in mind. Plus, Araquinid has access to moves like Sticky Web and Mirror Coat, so it can provide a little bit of utility beyond just punching things in the face. One negative about Araquinid is that it is weak to Stealth Rock, and it is painfully slow. But hopefully, its bulk will be able to offset that, and take full advantage of the kit that it offers. My next pick is Whimsicott. Originally, Rotom Heat was going to get drafted, but it got scooped up before I had a chance. What I wanted the most in this particular slot was a solid defogger that could also offer up some sort of other utility or heavy damage. Rotom would have been pretty great for the chip damage it could have provided with Volt Switch, as well as Will-O-Wisp and some heavy damage with Overheat. Plus, it has a lot of bulk, especially for a fire type. But Whimsicott feels very valid too, even if it does happen to have a 4x weakness to poison. It's frail, compared to Rotom especially, but it has access to a decent speed stat as well as Prankster, a bread and butter ability as far as I'm concerned. Prankster lets it get really nasty, spreading paralysis or toxic as needed, and gives priority to defog, making sure I can get rid of hazards at least once. Plus, if I feel like it, Whimsicott can do some really degenerate things with Substitute and Leech Seed. Beyond that, though, it has a second ability called Infiltrator, and its use would be pretty marginal. But theoretically, if I decided to build a Sun team, I could go with a Glass Cannon Whimsicott, since it has access to Growth. At this point, I realized I don't really have an answer for Steel types, which is kind of dangerous. I want to keep my theme of bulkier Pokemon, but I chose Arcanine for this slot. Arcanine is something of a questionable pick, but I wanted to try it out. It can be built as a physical or special attacker, with respectable offenses all around. With Gen 8 being very generous to Arcanine, it has access to Scorching Sands to help blow up rock and other fire types, and gives it a way to completely destroy Heatran. In addition to being a viable offensive threat, Arcanine also boasts a pretty respectable defense stat when it's coupled with Intimidate. And while it can't be considered a great pivot, it's not negligible. It has multiple roles that it can fill. Plus, access to Morning Sun. Weakness to rocks hurts quite a bit, but that's what boots are for. For my 7th draft pick, I went with something completely different and chose a very linear Pokemon. But if you've ever battled against me or talked to me about Pokemon in any sort of way, you'll know that one of my all-time favorite Pokemon is Nidoking. Unlike the rest of my team, Nidoking only fills one role, but he fills it pretty well. And that role is to hit things. Nidoking isn't extremely fast, nor are his attacking stats extremely strong. But Nidoking has access to Sheer Force, and frankly an insane amount of coverage to abuse it. Sheer Force plus Life Orb offers a 60% power boost to any moves that have secondary effects, of which Nidoking has plenty, including Thunder and Thunderbolt, Flamethrower and Fire Blast, Ice Beam and Blizzard, Shadow Ball, Focus Blast, Sludge Wave, Earth Power, Bubble Beam, and, you know, Sludge Wave and Earth Power are both stab, which means that they're going to get an extra 50% on top of the extra 60%. The only thing that Nidoking cannot hit super effectively are Spiritomb and Sableye, and fighting types. So, while Nidoking isn't able to fill multiple roles, it can roll multiple foes. Plus, I like Nidoking. And really that's enough, isn't it? My 8th draft pick is Ditto. Ditto is a powerful tool if used correctly. With its unique ability Imposter, Ditto transforms as soon as it enters the battlefield unless something stops it from transforming, like a substitute. With the Generation 8 changes, Transform also copies any stat buffs, such as Swords Dance, Bulk Up, or Curse. And when coupled with a Choice Scarf means that no matter how strong the opponent might be, Ditto is probably going to outpace it and be able to force a switch or to deal a heavy blow. Which, you know, is great. The only real downside to Ditto is the fact that it relies heavily on Choice Scarf and doesn't have much in the way of variety. And it will always keep its HP stat. It's the only thing it doesn't copy. And Ditto's HP isn't very good. Draft pick number 9 is Espeon. Espeon is my absolute favorite evolution, and a complete unit when it comes to special attack and speed. Boasting a massive 130 special attack, it can act as both a Choice Spec and Scarf user. It also has access to Wish and Baton Pass, so is capable of becoming a Pivot or Wish Passer if necessary. I feel like Espeon's best use is just to be a complete monster against Toxapex, especially with access to Magic Bounce, one of my all-time favorite abilities in the game. Espeon's defenses, however, as well as its HP, leave much to be desired. It is the epitome of a glass cannon. My 10th draft pick was a Mulga. A Mulga is an electric flying type that has an immunity to ground and also an immunity to electric, with its ability Motor Drive and a solid speed stat. Unfortunately, a Mulga doesn't have much else going for it. Its defenses and offenses are extremely fragile, and poor Mulga lacks sorely in the solid utility moves slot. In the post-drafting period, sadly, I parted ways with a Mulga, so instead my 10th draft slot will be given to Todamaru, or however you say that Pokemon's name. Honestly, I don't know how, so if I'm butchering that, I'm sorry. Todamaru is another Pikachu clone, and is an electric steel type, with access to 3 viable abilities, as well as a decent attack and speed stat, low to middling defenses, and most importantly a variety of useful moves, including Wish, Fell Stinger, Nuzzle, Fake Out, and more. Specifically, I wanted an electric type, and I narrowed it down to Togedemaru, Electivire, and Alolan Raichu. Togedemaru has a 4x weakness to ground, but I felt that its expanded move pool over the other two made it a solid pick. Plus, look how cute it is! How could you say no to that? And I believe that's pretty much everything, unless I'm forgetting about something. Oh, wait. My final draft pick should be a surprise to nobody, if you've been paying attention. All the signs pointed to it. The Rock City ShuckSquad will of course be headed by its final draft pick. Its namesake, its hero, its friend, your friend, mine as well, Shuckle. Everyone loves Shuckle. We all know it. As the old adage goes, you don't trifle with Shuckle, or something, I don't know. I don't want to say a bad word. Shuckle is a powerhouse. It dominates every single tier that it's legal in. Sometimes it dominates tiers it's not legal in. Sometimes it goes down to Little Cup and it just pub stomps all the little babies down there, knowing that nobody is going to stop it. Who could? Smogon tried to ban Shuckle 3 times in 2021 alone, but they didn't have the tools, power, or sheer force of will to stand up against Shuckle's might. Shuckle has the highest defenses out of every Pokemon in the game. No other Pokemon even comes close, other than 2, Mega Aggron and Mega Steelix, who can actually match Shuckle's monumental 230 defense. Unlike Shuckle, though, these 2 Pokemon have a very limited move pool, are absolute weenies when it comes to their special defense, and are garbage typing. Plus, they have to hold a useless item, not like Shuckle, who can hold any item at once. Shuckle can hold leftovers and give itself some HP. That way it can complement massive defense. Shuckle can Choice Band and fire off explosive stab rock blasts, which can whittle down the strongest flying and bug types, or anything else that's 4x weak to rock. Assault Vest can be held to create an impenetrable wall of force, bolstering Shuckle's special defense to unrealized levels. If Shuckle feels like it, it could even hold Steelixite and or Aggronite just to flex on the lesser beta Pokemon. Shuckle is truly a jack of all trades, as well as an ace of all trades, and a king and queen of all trades too. Shuckle is a complete royal flush of a Pokemon. With Shuckle on the squad, this draft is essentially over. We've already lost. That's right, we have lost. The entire human race. The entire league is going to be eclipsed by this behemoth of a Pokemon, just like Neo Tokyo getting blotted out by Tetsuo, before being reduced into a singularity and being reborn as the giant baby from 2001: A Space Odyssey. All will look on Shuckle and despair. All hail Shuckle. And there you have it. The Rock City ShuckSquad in all its glory. Season 2 Lake Valor League. Hopefully, Shuckle views me as worthy and carries me to victory. And if not, that's cool too, I guess. I like winning. But it's just a game after all, and having fun is what matters to me. Try not to take things too seriously, guys and gals. This has been Ban. I want you all to have a great day. Peace.